The San Francisco 49ers are gearing up to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady, but not before having to deal with a lot of injuries. We're going to talk about some of these injuries with none other than Coach Dezi. I was told in the comments to call her something else. Coach MD Dezi, MDE. All right, we're going to get all that right. All right, we're going to get that right and much more. Keep it locked right here. San Francisco 49ers Morning Show. Let's go.
Intercepted. It is picked off by Eric Crocker over midfield. He'll run it all the way into the end zone. Touchdown.
Cross Talk TV podcast. Peace.
Welcome to another episode of the San Francisco 49ers Morning Show. I'm your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back, Eric Crocker. And of course, as you can see, we got the lovely Coach Dezi joining us. Coach Dezi, so what are you supposed to go by?
Oh, just Dezi. I'm a PA.
Oh, okay, so we're good.
It's just Dezi.
I think they wanted me to distinguish the difference between, like, all right, we're going to come on here, we're going to talk about injuries. So Coach Dezi, and they were telling me to put, I gotta pull it up here. Here we go. You should call Dezi Coach MD Dezi. Easier to remember. We are talking about injuries. There we go.
Yeah, not an MD.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the best things about being a PA is that we're really good at education. So we can, not get caught up too much in the lingo and bring it down to earth a little bit. So.
All right. So shout out to Coach Dezi joining us. And this was kind of off the cusp. We were supposed to go yesterday. I got hung up doing some stuff. But she said, we're going this today? I said, hell yeah, we are. Hell yeah. And we got some good stuff to talk about. One, we're going to get into Jimmy Garoppolo's injury. But when you saw the injury and kind of how it happened, what was the first thing that went through your mind? Because I did get a text message from you.
Yeah. So when I first saw it, I think actually Brian Peacock even said it too. It was like, just go down, Jimmy, just go down. It's fine. It's early in the game. And so it looked like the Jalen Phillips was even on his back a little. So I was worried about his knee because I kept looking at the left knee, because remember last time we chatted about how maybe there was a slight tweak to the knee.
Yeah.
I showed the images. And so I was looking at the knee, missed the foot until the replay. And then I was like, oh yeah, that looks terrible. So was worried about the knee, but gosh, I think everybody's heart just sunk. Poor guy.
Yeah, and similar fashion to Trey Lance, right? And I mean, what do you do, right? You got this 300 or 280 pound guy just jumping on your back and then falling on you, and it's tough to kind of protect yourself from that. So hopefully, next time these guys just get down. Jimmy Garoppolo, he got hurt before fighting for extra yardage when he tore his ACL this time. And I'm not putting on Jimmy the injury, just in the sense of how it happened, right? Fighting for extra yards. And I appreciate that because I remember when he did it, I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, that was almost like, a 10-yard loss. And Jimmy got it to where it was only a 5-yard loss because he drugged guys forward. And then you see him get up slow. And I'm like, okay, whatever, he's fine. And then you see him on the sideline and he's kind of wincing. I'm like, oh, damn. Then they're like, Brock Purdy's in. I'm like, oh, damn. And I remember with Trey Lance, when Trey Lance got hurt, so I stream my games, right? So I watched the play happen. Trey Lance got tackled and he got up, and then it lagged or something, whatever it did. My streaming thing, whatever, it lagged. So then I'm like, okay. And then it comes back in, and I see everybody huddled around somebody on the ground. I'm like, who's hurt? Not Trey Lance. I just saw him get up, and then it was him. And then the card came out. I said, dang. Then I saw the replay. I'm like, oh man. So it's always tough. These guys fight for extra yards. They're trying to do whatever to help their teams win, and injuries happen. It just unfortunately happens a lot more to 49er quarterbacks. That's what it seems like as of late.
That you said what you just said, because when Jimmy went down this time, I keep getting asked, why do we have so many injuries? Why do we have so many injuries? And in that play, it was like, maybe we have so many injuries because that's just who we are. Like, they go for it. They Debo's got 5 people on him and he's like, let's go. And then he strains a hamstring, or, we're just that gritty, extra effort, that's what we all love about them. But then that's maybe what also, creates a little bit of problems for injury risk.
I never thought about it that way, but it's like the live by the three, die by the three type thing, right? If you're the Golden State Warriors and you watch them in the postseason and how they just kick everybody's ass and they're knocking down threes from everywhere, and the saying is you live by the three, die by the three. You shoot a lot of threes, you're gonna win, but there's gonna be times where it hurts you, and I think that's the 49ers right now, where you live by a certain level of physicality. And everybody knows it. Everyone knows that the 49ers are the bullies. Everyone knows that the 49ers, they're going to come, they're going to bring it. They play with this toughness, tenacity. But in the process of playing that style of football, that brand, and putting your body on the line to the extent that they do, there will be injuries. And maybe that's just something that the 49ers continue to deal with. That's tough. That's tough.
Yeah.
Last night, I had, obviously Greg Pinelli had the show. We had Brock Purdy's quarterback trainer on, the guy that prepped him for the draft process, the combine, all those things, his workouts, etc. And there was a lot of good things. So there were a couple of things you brought up prior to us going live. What did you take away from that, from a mechanical thing? Anything you said about Brock Purdy? Anything that correlated to your son and what he does? But
yeah. So I was just catching that. I only got maybe halfway through, so I didn't get too far in. But I was actually reached out to him already because my son throws javelin. And so javelin is a little bit different mechanics. The way that you have to hold the javelin and actually throw it through is a little bit different. But I reached out because some of the stuff that he was talking about, some of the modalities and the imagery, the high level stuff where you can take pictures and see the different mechanics at different levels. There's a couple of apps that can do it. I've used that for my track athletes, but I definitely want to take it to another level for him. So I was really interested and fascinated by some of the stuff that he was talking about. So I appreciate you having him on. And like I said, I've already sent him a message to say, hey, what can be done? Because I don't know if they work with that population as well. I know my son went to Junior Olympics last year. He made it top 10. He was number 10 out of 70 some kids for his age group. He was.
And how old is he?
He's 14. He's
Okay,
a
nice.
freshman this year. And I think that he said the number 1 or number 2 guy from that grouping was he's already committed to Alabama as a quarterback. And so, I'm biased, but I'm going to say my son's technique is the best of the group, but he's the small fry. So, some of the talks about, I know you were talking about Brock Purdy's, arm strength, just being able to get it down the field as far as maybe other quarterbacks. And listening to it, I saw he had improved it by 5.
He improved his miles per hour on his throws. So the version of Brock Purdy with the arm strength that we see today is significantly better than the quarterback that he was in college from a velocity standpoint, right? Throwing with velocity. And he improved his RPMs by 5 miles per hour. 5.
Yeah.
And they said, that's pretty unprecedented. You don't
That's
typically
very
see that type of increase, and like you said, by the time, kind of 18, 19 years old, you can improve it, but not to the extent of it's going just 5 miles per hour faster, right?
That's what I paid attention to. Yeah. Was the age group, because that's where my son is. And so I'm like, gosh, if I can get a little bit more arm strength, because that's all javelin is how far can you throw this bomb down the field? If I can get that going for him, that would be fantastic.
Right. Now, I explained it last night, and it's tough. You got to go watch it, Robert. You got to go watch it. But we really kind of broke down throwing downfield, right? Like anybody can throw a ball far, right? Like I can get on the field right now. I'll set my camera up. I'll show y'all. I can throw a ball 60 yards, Now, the difference between me and somebody that just has a big arm, like an explosive arm, because guys can throw kind of far. Now, some guys can just throw further, right? Like Josh Allen, he's going to throw it further than me, right. Like regardless. But, being able to throw a football 60 yards, that's not hard, right? Well, I'm not saying it's not hard. That's not out of the norm.
Correct.
It's being able to throw with velocity and be able to throw with velocity off platform and being able to throw with velocity without utilizing your feet. Like that's the true measure of having a strong arm, having a big arm.
Right.
And even with Jimmy Garoppolo, you can tell, like even on the throws underneath that he snaps passes off, he throws with really good velocity. Like within the line of scrimmage to 15 yards down the field, right? He can snap something off without utilizing his feet and have good velocity. Now, where do we see Jimmy suffer, right? It's, can he snap a ball off without using his feet, but drive a deep out from far hash? And he doesn't have that type of arm, right? So that's kind of the difference. I think there are a lot of people that think that it's like, oh, big arm, they correlated with throwing a 60-yard pass. And it's like, no, that's not it. how many 60-yard passes are you going to throw in a game, right? But when you look at, say, Caleb Williams, who I just watched this breakdown of him with JT O'Sullivan, and Caleb Williams from a play action without his feet even being set, snapped off this out route. And it's just like, you have to kind of have more of a special arm to be able to do that, and it was just, he made it look so routine where you would think like, oh man, anybody can do that. But like, no, anybody just can't do that. So those are the things when people talk about arm strength, I know like not calling y'all casuals. I am not calling y'all casuals, but the casual fan without the experience of really throwing football thinks, 70-yard passes. And that's not it. It's
there's
the
a
drive
lot.
throws, being able to throw those drive passes, being able to fit the ball in areas like Josh Allen, right? And I keep using Josh Allen. Obviously, he's an anomaly in the sense of he just has the strongest arm. But he threw this pass on Thanksgiving where it wasn't a 60-yard pass or 70-yard pass. It was a dig route, and it was like 8 yards off the ground the whole time. And it was like 35 yards just right off the ground, just and they had a safety sitting there. The safety's trying to close. He can't close fast enough because it was just a rocket, right? Like, and that's when we start talking about having a big arm. That's a difference, right? Trey Lance. When Trey Lance threw that ball to Deebo Samuel against the Houston Texans, where he made Deebo flatten that route off, it was just a rocket, and doesn't mean like, that you're going to be better or good because you have a bigger arm. It's just, sometimes you can do things other guys can't. So,
and that's it right there. And there's so many mechanics. It's not just throwing the ball. I mean, it's hips, it's rotation, it's footwork, it's all these little intricacies that add up to that throw. And so you can have different talents and abilities and all kinds of things that happen anywhere in that range and at the different levels of the kinetic chain going up. So, and then add in the mental capacity, right? To be able to the vision of the field and knowing what's happening and I mean, how you handle stress, right? Like I have, one kid that's just really good under pressure and another one that maybe, not as good. So there's all these things that come up. So for, as you call it, the casual fan, maybe they're just you should have hit that. You should have done that. But you think about all the things that have to happen right for that ball to get right into the person's hands at that stride, with two men on or whatever it is. It's a lot. So I appreciate, all of the breakdown that you guys had. I'm interested in watching the rest of it after I get off here.
Yeah. You talked a little bit about the pressure and handling that. Have you dove into that at all? I did have a mental health coach. So there are mental health coaches out there. Have you dove into that at all?
Personally, like with my clients, or do you mean?
I mean, just talking to someone or with your clients and.
Oh yeah, mental health is one of the three major pillars in my business. So in my practice, it's mental health, nutrition, and movement. So that's the recipe for success. And people need different levels in each category. But in terms of athletics, there are actual sports psychologists that work with athletes to help break down that whole pressure and, at injury, a lot of injuries, when you have injuries trying to work, we talk about the mental rehab that has to happen after an injury and a physical rehab. So, it is really key. And I still think it's greatly underutilized. I still think there's a lot of bias out there. And I find the people that are willing to really put the work in on the mental side of it, the greater success they have in anything, whether it's professionally, whether it's physically, whether it's health, no matter what. I think mental health is still, guys, if you're in that category, make sure you really consider it because it's where it's at. I
used to do a Patreon account. and I had someone come on the Patreon account, and she spoke solely on that, and it was definitely eye-opening for me just to think of the two different ways, or just how someone handles pressure, and like how you can kind of be coached up on handling pressure better. And that's not something, we really think about every day. It's just, okay, you go in and, if you're good, you're good. If you're not, you're not. Or if you just can't handle pressure and you miss that free throw, then that's just who you are. But really, you can be coached up on how to kind of bring yourself down, calm yourself down, that anxiousness, like in that moment. And that was very interesting for me to hear. I'm gonna have to bring her on here.
And interestingly, do you, for those of you that have Netflix, I don't know if anyone's checked out, Chris Hemsworth has a show on right now. I think it's called Limitless. And he kind of goes through different, he's looking at longevity, health, and living longer, and how to age well and live longer. And so one of those segments is all on handling stress and overcoming fear and all of this stuff. I think that's a great, if you guys are interested and have Netflix, that'd be a great, there's Sandra. Hey girl, where's all my female faithful out there? Hey lady.
Yeah, where are the females? I see.
Female faithful.
I saw Bree in here. Bree's faithfully in here.
Hey Bree.
There are usually some more. Here goes Bree right here.
There she is. That's my girl.
We'll have to see all the women that are in here right now. Here we go. We got Mariah in here. Let's go.
There we go. Me and Mariah.
All right. Shout out to the lady faithful. All right. So, real quick before we get into the injuries, we got pictures. We got Jimmy Garoppolo. We're going to talk about that timetable. We got Trey Lance, all that stuff, right? But just your overall opinion on when you watch Brock Purdy, and are you confident? Moving forward, because kind of he has the weight of the whole faithful on his shoulders, and he got to go out there and do it. He looked like he handled it extremely well. I was so, as if I'm his father, I was so proud of him, with how he handled everything there and everything that the Dolphins tried to do against him. But what were your thoughts when watching it?
Same, like I'm proud mama. I was like, go ahead, Brock, go out there and show him what's up. So immediately after the game, I put on the who's the comedian, Jim Carrey, when he's like on the thing. I'm like me getting my Brock Purdy jersey. I think he made us all just so proud. I think to throw him into a situation like that against the Dolphins, and y'all remember my next door neighbors, they're Dolphins fans.
Yeah.
And then y'all, I'm in Tampa, so guess who we're playing this weekend? So, it's a bad time to live in Florida when you're a 49er fan, or maybe a good time, depending on what you think of. Actually, I went to the Monday Night Football game, so I was at Raymond James on Monday. I wore my Jimmy Garoppolo shirt so that I could, show my love for him. And I got separated from the crowd, and I was like, y'all, I'm suddenly feeling a little unsafe. So, but they're good. No, Tampa fans are great. They were really kind to me. There was a couple of low-key 49er fans that were like, hey, 49ers, So the game was super boring until, I decided to leave. And then, that's when Tom Brady decided to turn it up and score a couple touchdowns. But no, Brock Purdy, I think he's great. Let's ride with him. I think with all the buzz with Carolina, who's the quarter? Well, he was the quarterback. He's now going to be for the Rams. When you guys were talking about
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield, I was like, no, don't want Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
And then did you see on OBJ? Remember, I was like, yeah, I'm going to pass on OBJ. Did you see Dallas was?
They want to. It sounded like they are not very optimistic with where he is in his recovery, and that they would like to see him work out, but they might just pass altogether on Odell. Yeah,
that's what I was afraid of. I was afraid that it was a little too soon for him to stage a comeback this year. But I'm riding with Brock Purdy. I think let's make him Mr. Relevant.
There we go. All right. So let's do this. We are going to pull up some photos of our main man, Jimmy Garoppolo, and kind of talk through a little bit of what happened with his injury. Let's see here. And we got, which one? Do you want me to pull up the pictures of him getting tackled or the?
Yes, let's start with that one.
All right, here we go. So,
Luckily, I think I just put it in order as we can chat about it. So,
all right, let me make sure I take this, use
all right,
this
be
here.
prepared, faithful. We got some X-rays to show today. So,
Oh yeah. All right, here we go. Is this
oh,
the
that's
first one?
the old one. That was from last week. Last time we checked.
Oh no. Okay, hold on, y'all. Hold on. Stop the screen share. I know. I'm like, dang, this looked like last week, but it's got to be different. All right.
Here, I can resend it to you real quick if you need it.
No, I got it right here.
Okay.
Oh yeah, this is good stuff. Okay. We got X-rays. We got everything. All right, here we go. Matter of fact, I could just share this window here. So, present, share the screen, window, tab. All right. Can you see this?
Yes.
All right, so we have the injury here. Oh, let me click this out.
This was the best image I could actually
Oh
find.
gosh, that looks terrible.
So, and I think this came from 49ers on Facebook. They're not the official 49ers page, but it's somebody else. But anyway, so when you see this picture, you can see that's Philip's knee landing on the outside part of Jimmy's foot. You can see that the ankle is a little stressed there, but the knee is great. But yeah, so that's right there is where the metatarsals are and the midfoot area. So I just wanted everybody to kind of see exactly where the force was landing right in the middle of that foot. So if you want to scroll down. So this was the concern, was whether there was a Liz Frank. And I now know that, luckily we didn't come on yesterday, we're on today. So we know that it's not a Liz Frank, but what I want you to kind of learn today is what is a Liz Frank and what would that have meant for Jimmy? What does it mean now that he doesn't have one? So if you look all the way to the left, you see all these little tiny bones that are lined up. Those are the tarsal bones in the midfoot area. You can see the metatarsal bones are the longer bones that are kind of head towards that midfoot, and the joints into the tarsal bones that make the Liz Frank joint complex. So all the way to the left is just the bones, and that red box signifies the area that we're talking about, the midfoot. Looking in the middle picture, that kind of shows some tendons, kind of the soft tissue complexes that are in that area. And that's important because obviously you can't see those on X-ray, but I'll show you here in a minute what you would see instead if there was a disruption of any of that soft tissue there.
So you want me to scroll down?
Nope. So all the way to the right, you can see there's some fractures there. And that does a pretty good job with showing these smaller ligaments that are attaching bone to bone there. And so this is really important because your midfoot, when you go to walk and transfer the energy from your calf into that foot, your midfoot is responsible for finishing out that part of the stride as you walk. So this is a really important part of the foot, the midfoot. Wow. This is what makes creates the arch in your foot. So the plantar fascia is kind of tissue underneath, but this is really what kind of creates the dome that makes your arch. Okay, so now let's scroll down.
All right.
Class is in session, so we're going through here. So here, all the way to the left, if you look at that X-ray, all the way to the left, right there is a small, so in a Liz Frank, if you just have a sprain or, a mild tear, what you'll see on X-ray, you don't see any bone interruption, but what you see is increased space between your big toe metatarsal, your first metatarsal there all the way to the left, and the next bone in. Right in the middle of that circle, there's a gapping there. And so on a first-time X-ray, you might not see it, or just, an X-ray where you're sitting and the foot's kind of there and they take the X-ray. If you do a weight-bearing X-ray, now that when you add the stress to it, you can see a separation. So that would just be a soft tissue kind of Liz Frank injury. As you move into the next image to the middle part, there's actually two fractures here. So right where the arrow is, you have a fracture of the metatarsal of the second metatarsal is fractured. And then in the circle, there is, go go just a little to the left of where your cursor is, just a little to the left there. Oh, wherever you're, yep. Nope. Stay in the circle, but to right there. So that's the cuboid bone, and that has a fracture in it. So there's 2 fractures there in that complex. So that's kind of the next level up. You might even do like an open reduction internal fixation, which is a type of surgery to repair this. And I'll show that in an x-ray later. All the way to the right, you have, this is like what you'd see in a high impact trauma situation. The long bones of the metatarsals is not lining up with where they should be on the tarsal bones. So this is really, really bad. This one, you'd probably go to a fusion, which is a different type of surgery to fix this. So this is just a generic x-ray. This is not Jimmy Garoppolo's x-rays. Thanks for asking, Swan Song. This is not Jimmy's x-rays. This is just explaining what a Liz Frank is, because you may have seen it come out that, oh, Jimmy doesn't have a Liz Frank. This is great news. So I'm just kind of trying to explain why it's good news and what this means going down the road. So, yep, come on down. So these are the types of surgeries that, when they first came out and said he broke his foot, he's going to need surgery. You're wondering, oh, does he have a Liz Frank? This is what surgery would have potentially looked like if he did have a Liz Frank and if he did need surgery. So the 2 images on the left are open reduction internal fixation, or ORIF. And so it's hardware to kind of bring the fracture together to kind of, allow for bone to heal. Now, he would have had to have surgery, allowed it to heal. And then a lot of times you have to go back in and take some of the hardware out. In some cases, all the hardware out. So that would have been a
So
stage.
they just go in and just pull the nail, like.
Well, they go. They kind of. I mean, usually, sometimes there may be some backing up anyway, but these are usually screws, and usually they take a. It's crazy when you're in orthopedic surgery, man, and it's literally carpentry of the human body. We use drills, we use saws. It's a thing.
So real quick. So is it? I mean, it looks like a real screw. I've never had surgery.
Yeah.
Right, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at that foot in the left image, all the way far left.
Yeah.
It looks like a legit screw.
It's a screw.
So they really like taking a drill and. Oh,
yes,
gosh.
sir. Yes, sir. It is a thing.
That's some Jeffrey Dahmer stuff.
Yeah. No, that's definitely not.
I shouldn't laugh, but you know what I mean. Yeah, he was
that.
drilling stuff. But, yeah.
What's the next image that I have?
Okay, here we go. Sorry.
He went left, y'all. This is a fusion. So a fusion is where they basically immobilize the entire midfoot. This is usually really like in that x-ray that was all the way to the right, where just all the metatarsals had shifted away, like the joint was completely dislocated and off. They have to bring it back and they take off the cartilage, and then they just you're never going to get movement in the midfoot. So the midfoot really shouldn't have much movement to start with, but they end up fusing it if it's that situation. So I say all of this to say Jimmy again dodged a big bullet here. Like this could have been a really terrible situation. So that's Liz Frank. Okay, so that's Liz Frank.
This one?
All of those, everything that I just talked about was talking about Liz Frank. So we have confirmation it is not a Liz Frank. Probably the reason why it took a while is because maybe, like I showed you in the x-ray where they do the weight-bearing films and you can see separation, they probably needed additional imaging. They maybe consulted, multiple surgeons just to confirm that it was not a Liz Frank, that he doesn't need surgery. He for sure has fractures in there. And I say that plural. I do think it's more than one. You saw that 260-pound man's knee directly on the outside, the lateral aspect of the foot. And so if you look at this image here, these are different fractures of what's called the 5th metatarsal. That's the long bone that's in the pinky toe. So he probably has a couple fractures here. Now, if it's just in the 5th, the pinky toe, there's different, depending on where the fracture is, depends on the healing. So, okay, he doesn't have a Liz Frank. The next concern I had was, is it a Jones fracture? And that's what Derrick Henry had last year. So a Jones fracture, as you can see, is a fracture kind of what we call at the base of the fifth metatarsal. And the problem with Jones fractures is there's limited blood supply. When you fracture this, there can be a chance that it doesn't heal properly. And you get something that an avascular necrosis where just the blood supply is non-existent and it impairs healing. So I would think that if he had a Jones fracture, they would have come out and said that. Again, they did with Derrick Henry. So the jury's still out about where exactly these fractures are. Given where that knee was, I expect it to be maybe the fifth, fourth, maybe even the third metatarsal. And so the good news is this is 6 to 8 weeks for healing. He can just call up his friend Trey Lance and say, hey, I need your scooter. So that scooter is going to get some love in the quarterback from our quarterbacks. He'll be in a boot. He'll probably be non-weight bearing. And, if he's just fractured it this past Sunday, 6 weeks is January 15th is his 6 week mark. So that's kind of where we are with Jimmy G.
Yeah, and that's probably like the soonest he could come back. What does the rehab look like with this, right? Because a lot of people, they're starting to throw out, we'll talk about Trey Lance and all that, but in the rehab process, in the recovery process, how much weight can he eventually put on that? How, do people get out of shape during that time or try to stay in shape riding the bike? Like, what's the process like trying to come back from that? And potentially if, Lord willing, 49ers even have to, first of all, they got to get to the playoffs right now. Then they got to win a playoff game, which, it's just hard, right?
Yeah.
It's just hard to win playoff games. You got to win a playoff game just for the potential opportunity of Jimmy Garoppolo to come back. So in the event that Jimmy Garoppolo is, his foot is all healed up, will he be in like any type of game or play shape at that point?
There's usually ways. There's rehab modalities that you can use to try to help keep up your cardiovascular. You can do upper body. There's still core work you can do. There's the arm bike that you can do. There's different modalities that he'll be able to continue to work on. He can still throw. He'll be on, like I said, he's going to be non-weight bearing, so it's going to be a little bit. I suspect, minimum 4 weeks before he's putting weight on this, full weight bearing. So he's not going to be able to do much with this foot until then. They'll be doing serial x-rays to watch the healing, make sure it's coming along the way they expect. And I sense that they'll gauge once they see enough of calcium laid down or a bone being laid down in the spot where they feel like the healing and the bridging is there, that they'll be able to then say, okay, we can do, modified weight bearing. You can start to toe touch weight bear. You can start to, again, it's tough because I don't know exactly where these fractures are, how many fractures he has. All of that is contingent on that. So, but usually minimum 4 weeks. And they've already said 6 to 8 weeks of healing. So it just depends on all of that.
All right, here we go. So we got some other pictures here too. That's not just Jimmy Garoppolo. We got Kyle Juszczyk's finger, and I didn't realize how effed up his finger got when this happened. But now he's playing with some screws in his finger, right?
So this, I put this up because for those of you that follow Kyle Juszczyk on Instagram, he posted his X-ray. So I wanted to bring this up, and full disclosure, medical people, we're just a different breed. I worked ER for 5 years. I loved getting a finger dislocation. You can just pop those babies right back in place. It's so rewarding both for you and the patient because it's like immediately they're out of pain. So when I first saw this, I was like, oh, I wish I was on the sideline. But then I was like, well, I don't know if it's a fracture or if it's just a dislocation. And of course, we all know now it was a fracture. So that's what it looked like. And so he posted the X-ray. So here you go, guys. Fun treat here. This is Kyle Juszczyk's actual X-ray on the right. So I put just some random hand on the left just so that you can see where this was. So this was I think it was his ring finger. So it was on the proximal phalanx. So if you look at the finger on the left, and you can see there's, all the way up at the tip is one little segment. That's your distal phalanx. The next middle bone is called the middle phalanx, and the next phalanx down is your proximal phalanx. That's where he fractured. And you can see the arrows. So there's, I put arrows where there's a healing. You can see where the fracture site was and all the way down. So this was fragmented. This was a fragmented fracture, meaning it wasn't just a straight line. He had a couple little fragments there. So he crossed I think his Instagram post said something like he got points for every screw in his finger. So when he scored that touchdown, he got one for every screw, and he was right, 6 screws. So I just thought this was a fun thing to show because he actually did allow us to see the X-ray, and it looks great.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, because this might sound ignorant. I just have no idea. When they take the screw out, so they basically put the drill bit thing they put the drill in reverse.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do they get to the nail, and then they have to, or screw, and then they have to take it out? And is there not a hole left in the finger?
There is, and so when you do that, depending on what part of the body it is, you may have to be non-weight bearing. You may have to have some precautions as they do that, and make sure that it heals in okay. But yeah.
Gosh, that sounds painful.
Yeah, I mean they're out. It's not like you're doing it in the office. I mean, just unless you have an external fixator, but we'll talk about that a different day. We don't have to talk about that. But yeah, so it's legit a drill. It's legit, drill bits. They're all sterilized.
All right, so I have to ask. A lot of people have asked about Trey Lance. I have my opinions on him coming back. I just say no.
Yeah.
But obviously whatever they feel like he's ready for or not ready for, which right now Kyle Shanahan says what he's hearing is he won't be back. But he's like, if he is, of course he would love to, and they kind of left that door open. But we've seen him moving around. I personally haven't been fishing for it. I haven't seen an update since we saw him just kind of, slowly moving. He's been walking around, no boot, no crutches. He's been, on the field, just kind of playing catch with his guys. But, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, any chance? I don't know.
So remember, for those of you who watch this show regularly, you've seen me before. I totally was like, as soon as he got injured, I calculated. I'm like, what's the tape? And I was like, oh, there is a possibility. I was hesitant to say it because I'm superstitious, but cat's out of the bag now. I was literally, now that Jimmy's injured, I was like, Jimmy has not had a year not being injured. Like that's what I wanted to say. It was like, I'm worried because we've got a lot of season left. And Jimmy hasn't been able to get through a season without being injured. So I thought when we bypassed the knee thing, I thought, okay, well, that was one, we skirted one problem. And then the next week, here we are. So this was the nightmare that I thought about back in September when Trey went down was, is there a possibility? I thought this guy since September. I'm like, is there a possibility? Because it's there. Is it possible? Yes, it's possible.
I think you kind of willed this into existence. This
no,
Garoppolo
because
injury.
I never said it. It was just in my brain.
But you thought it. That's what the Bible says, right? It's like if and not like I know the Bible, but if I'm not mistaken, it's something along the lines of basically if you thought it like exists. So I think you kept thinking it, and then you kind of put that out in the atmosphere. And now he's hurt. It's your fault. We know whose fault it is now, y'all. It's Coach Dezi's fault. She's the reason why Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt. But
So there is a chance. Now, my opinion at this point, Trey is 11 weeks this week, 11 weeks post-op. I think I saw somewhere they said that his surgeon said at 12 weeks he would be good to go. I will tell you, sometimes surgeons are like, he's good to go from a surgical perspective, but actually from the rehab perspective, it doesn't mean that he's good to go. So like his part's done, meaning the surgery is a success and it's healed, but you still have to do the rehab. So it doesn't mean that he's necessarily cleared of rehab. So that's kind of the big question mark is where exactly is he in the rehab? From the video that I saw and shared, was it last week? It looked like he may be ahead of schedule, which is good. However, I think at this point, it's a business transaction. It's okay. So if you bring him back and he re-injures that ankle, guys, that is the biggest nightmare. That is the biggest thing. Like you do not want that for him because revisional surgery sucks. And we kind of talked about OBJ and he was a revisional surgery. And so if you do something to put him at risk, and we know the postseason gets even grittier, right? That's when it really, like people are they just go at it. And so you put him in that when he hasn't been playing and he gets in there, and if something happens to that ankle, we may lose him for part of next year. Or
you don't want that.
Or possibly worse. So you don't want that. I mean, guys, you guys know I'm a diehard. I would love for him to come back, but I don't know that would be the right timing, especially if Jimmy's running around the same timeline. I think I had,
sacrifice Jimmy, right? Don't sacrifice Lance. That's what you're saying. Like, all right, hey, Jimmy, if you get hurt, it's whatever. You play. But Trey Lance, you can't get hurt. You sit.
Y'all hear this? You see the words he's putting in my mouth? I'm already on Javon Kinlaw's shit list, so now you're just hanging.
I think we're good with we told him plenty of times how much we love him on this show, so I think he's not gonna come on here and his nuts bigger than ours. I don't think that's gonna happen, but
yeah. And plus the thought is like, if Purdy's taking care of business, do we pull him when he's already gotten us there? That's the other question mark. So I think we ride it out. Let's see how these two, see how Jimmy and Trey come along. But truly, I think Jimmy's injury is something where if he re-injures it, it's not going to be in such a detriment. If you re-injure Trey, it can be a big, big problem. So I don't want that to sound as if Jimmy's the sacrificial lamb. But in terms of just comparing injury to injury, I think, if Jimmy does not have a Liz Frank, and especially if he doesn't even have a Jones fracture, I think he's got a good chance at healing. And, re-injury for him would not be as disastrous as a re-injury for Trey.
Right.
I didn't even know he was going to say that today. I'm glad I said that.
Yeah. Before I let you go, do you have any thoughts on the San Francisco 49ers against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? I mean, this is a huge game. I just saw a stat go up that said something along the lines of, there have been 7 quarterbacks to make their first NFL start against a Tom Brady-led team, and they have not been successful at all, right? He's 7-0 against them. They're 0-7 versus him. I'd assume that most of that took place with the Patriots, and we know what Bill Belichick did to opposing, first start rookie quarterbacks in general. He just destroyed rookie quarterbacks. So, let alone being in your first start. So, a lot of that, I think, had to do with Bill. But how do you kind of see this game playing out? A lot of people are really excited to see Brock Purdy. I am too. What it looks like. What does the offense look like? I thought he did a lot of really good things. The defense, they're flying high. I think Tampa Bay, it's hard to say a Tom Brady-led team is not good, but they're not very good, right? You have more of a challenge last week. Now, I think the defense this week is better. Now, that can be the big challenge for Brock Purdy being a rookie. You are playing against a better defense in Tampa, but just overall, it feels like this is a winnable game. But what are your thoughts on it?
I think so. And just, being in Raymond James on Monday night, Fournette came back, and I really expected that to really be a spark for their offense, and it just fizzled. I didn't see a lot going on. I think our defense is so stout and so just, gosh, I just love our defense. I think they're going to take care of business, and I think it's going to take the pressure off Brock Purdy. I think I'm excited to see how Brock does this week, because this will be a chance for them to kind of get a game plan set on him. Tampa Bay's defense come up with a strategy, but it seems like he's got this confidence and this swag that's just, I love it. And I love that he's daring and he's willing to take the chances, and he's okay with making mistakes. He knows he can do better. He's going to learn from it. I love that the team has kind of just rallied around him. Kittle has a special nickname. Fred Warner was talking about, hey, he's been playing against the number 1 defense for 13 weeks. I mean, all of this stuff allows me to, really have faith in that we'll be able to take care of business this week. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
All right, well, Coach Dezi, as always, it's a pleasure talking to you. I'm going to get you off and get to some of these messages that I started in here and talk to the people, but it was great. It was great having you on, and we're going to have to do this again next week.
All right. Thanks,
Hopefully
Eric.
no more quarterback injuries.
No mas. It stops. No more. Putting that energy out there. There you go, Croc. I'm putting that energy out there. No more injuries. I'm done with talking about quarterback issues. So we're gonna crush it in Tampa Bay. Thank you, Faithful. Thank you, Croc. And we'll see you next week then.
All right. See you next week.
Bye.
All right, shout out to Coach Dezi. As always, did an amazing job. Just donating their time to us and talk to us about some of these things that are, at least to me, very interesting because I just don't know anything about it. I try to gather as much information so then when I'm talking to my brother people or talking on Locked On 49ers, it sounds like I know what the hell I'm talking about, right? When it comes to some of these injuries and different things like that. So very informative. If y'all haven't been on with her before, she's amazing. She's amazing. Met her in Atlanta. I was at John Chapman had like a party, the rush party Saturday before the Atlanta Falcons game. So I was there and, her and her husband didn't go, but I was there. She was there. And, we got introduced and everything. And she was like, you got to bring me on the show. And I'm like, all right. Now she was thinking I was going to bring her on Locked On 49ers, which we did. But I'm like, dude, I got my own morning show. We got a decent crowd that comes in here. Almost 300 people in here right now. Had over 700 people watching last night. So, we get decent views. Nothing too crazy, right? But we get decent views for people to, her get out there. And she's very well spoken, very educated. And it's always awesome bringing her on. All right. I start a bunch of tweets. Listen, guys. I don't know why everything. I'm gonna try to be the parent, right? Like, so y'all are my kids in this scenario. Y'all not my kids, man. Y'all grown as hell, right? But in this scenario, it's like, and I gotta pull y'all to the side, like, hey, chill the fuck out. That's what I would say to my kid. Chill the fuck out. You guys go at it about these quarterbacks. What is up with that? Chill. Are we not all 49er fans in here? Now there might be another fan base in here or whatever. But for the most part, I'd say 98% of y'all in here, are y'all not 49er fans? Raise your hand if you're not a 49er fan in here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like, come on. What are we doing? Why does it have to be so combative when this is our team? I am legitimately rooting for anyone that is wearing that red and gold. I hope they all succeed. Now, I come on here to try to bring a different perspective about certain things, but gosh, come on, y'all. Let's be cool, because the stuff I'm seeing, it's like everybody wants to be right. One way or another. Let's see. Hold on. See, and even, let's say this. And this is not, I ain't bashing or nothing like that. But it's like, y'all Jimmy haters sound crazy. Purdy played one game. Now he's the MVP. And even then, within that comment, it's almost like, it's almost like we're still pinning like something against each other. So it's like, we can't, and I'm not saying that Purdy's MVP or anything like that, but it's like, man, we don't know what Purdy is, right? Or maybe he is MVP. I don't know. I get what you're saying though. There are some people that are Jimmy haters, and it's tough. It's tough. The toughest part is coming on here and talking about it. And having to like chill, y'all, let's chill. Let's just talk. Let's just have a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Let's just talk and have a conversation. Jimmy's been really good for the 49ers. I don't understand how anyone can say otherwise. Trey Lance has a lot of talent. He's the most talented quarterback on the 49ers roster. That is without a doubt. He can make throws that these other guys, they just can't. He can move different than these other, they just can't, right? But he's also very inexperienced. And he doesn't have a lot of reps, and he needs the reps, right? Like that is true. He's done a lot of really good things. Brock Purdy. There are some limitations there. That's why he was a 7th round pick. But people, and I always talk about NFL players, they are made to prove you wrong. Like they're made to prove you wrong. So he's a 7th round pick. Okay, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna prove everybody wrong. Like, why I should not have been a 7th round pick. And I thought he played well. Not the most talented guy. But maybe he has just enough to be a good quarterback. Maybe. but they're all 49ers. They're all 49er quarterbacks. So let's embrace the journey, right? Y'all go on journeys, right? You guys have different things that you go and, this morning. So I started my adult fitness class a week ago or a month ago. A little bit over a month ago, I started my adult fitness class in the morning, 5:15 a.m. I had one person. So for pretty much a month, I had one person that I trained. And I trained her like as if I had 20 people in there, right? This morning, man, or a couple days ago, it was like 3 people, then 4 people, then 6 people, then 8 people. Like, you know what I'm saying? Now I had like 6, 7 people in there today. Like, there's a process with all of this. It is not about where you start. It's not about where you start. It's about like, what are you doing to improve on that? And what do you learn along the way? And then, like, man, what does that progression look like? And when you see that, it's a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing. And I stopped, like, man, God, Croc, that's wild. Appreciate the contribution, though. I stopped. I feel like we've watched enough. We've watched enough of these guys, quarterbacks, and what it looks like and how they just look different. They look different. They do things differently. So I see this. And V-Tran, maybe you're right. Maybe he looked really raw against the Texans. Regardless of whether he looked raw. Okay, matter of fact, let's say this. Let's say Trey Lance against the Texans looked raw. And even within looking raw, within looking raw, he completed 70% of his passes, had explosive plays, had 30 rushing yards, 250 yards, whatever it was, multiple touchdowns, a rushing touchdown to call back, even with them being raw, even within needing more experience, more reps, more this and that. Even within that. You know what I'm saying? Even within, where was it at? I just saw it. Hold on. Swung song. First half he did. So he's saying like first half he looked raw. Even within looking raw, first half completed 10 out of 13 passes. He's throwing the ball down the field. He's trying to make plays with his legs. Like even within looking raw, that happened. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's where it's just like, let's relax. Let's relax. Enjoy watching these guys and just understand the process of whatever it is for that guy. What's the process for Jimmy Garoppolo? I think we've kind of let that play out. And I don't mind watching Jimmy Garoppolo because I know what he is. So I don't get too high one way or the other. It's like, I know what Jimmy is. He's a serviceable starter. Solid starting quarterback. I don't have high expectations for. All right. I don't have high expectations for Jimmy G. The only expectations I have for Jimmy is, contribute to a win, which he does a lot. So that's it. I don't ask him to do more than what he is. Trey Lance, I know I might see some a miss here or there or whatever, but I want to see like, man, what goes into, each week, what it looks like, just the progression. What is he doing better this week than he did last week? Now look at those things with Trey, and I see it. I got so excited watching Trey Lance against the Seahawks on that first drive. Just boom, nowhere Ayuk was, hit Ayuk turned up, ran 31 yards, and was just getting the ball out of your hands quick, understanding where to go. I got so excited when I watched Trey Lance face a free rusher against the Seahawks, face a free rusher in his face, and he stood in there and delivered a very accurate throw to Jeff Wilson, who was tightly covered. And it was completed. Like, that was really good. Like, those are the small wins. Those are the things right there that I'm talking about, like, where it's like, okay, I see it. Then it's okay, just build on that. And when I watch Brock Purdy, I'm going to continue to watch, right? I watched this last game, and I saw some things like, okay. And then it's just like, all right, like, how does he improve on that? He did a lot of really good things. They tried to throw the kitchen sink at him. They did 0 blitz at him. Like it's like, hey, we're going to line up everybody. We're just going to send it. You're going to have free runners at him. And I thought he did a really good job of knowing where to go. That was awesome to see. Missed some throws, Whatever, everybody missed some throws pretty badly. Do we see the bad miss next game? Like, those are the things I just want to see. Let's go, man. Like, it doesn't have to, you don't have to pin one guy over the other. They're all 49ers, so. I had to have that conversation with y'all because I'm over here with Coach Dezi. She's firing off some really good stuff about these injuries and what goes into it. And I look at the chat and it's just like, Jimmy's a bum, or Trey Lance, and then Brock Purdy is this and that, and he's Dan Marino, and it's just like, y'all, let's chill. Let's chill. I am excited to watch, first and foremost, the 49ers, and definitely Brock Purdy. I can't wait to see. Now, do I have my reservations? Dude, I had them with Trey Lance. I thought Trey Lance played well against the Texans. I did not want to see Trey Lance starting against the Rams the next week. Y'all that were on here during that time, y'all know what I'm talking about. Everybody coming on now, Croc, he's got to start against the Rams. No, we don't. I'm not throwing a rookie into that situation. That was me. Now, I'm not throwing, he's got one start, or two starts, whatever it was. Play well. Good job against Houston. That was a huge game. Trey Lance doesn't win that game against Houston, 49ers don't go to the playoffs. Right? Huge game. Did a lot of good stuff. Cool. Throw Jimmy in there. If Jimmy can throw a football, throw him in against the Rams. If y'all don't, go back and listen to the episode if you can find it. That was the conversation for me. I said, go to Jimmy. If Jimmy can throw a football, if he looks like Jimmy, and he did. I thought throwing the ball, he looked like Jimmy. Now, he might have been in some pain, but he looked like Jimmy. So if he can throw it, go with him. 49ers were down 17-0. I fired off a tweet. Just get a drive right here, get some points before the half. All right, halftime, go in, settle down. You get the ball back after halftime, go down, score. Like, you're in the game. Everybody else, bitch him for Trey Lance. Nah, Jimmy got this. Come on, man. Who's under pressure, Shanahan or Purdy? Ooh, that's a good one, Raphael. Yeah, I agree with Mike Shields here. Mike Shields says Purdy is playing with house money. And I agree. I mean, it's like, at the end of the day, let's say Purdy falls flat on this. Who is under more pressure to who? I think that would be the big question. Because, in my opinion, I agree with Mike that Purdy's playing with house money. But Purdy would not tell you he's playing with house money. Purdy would tell you, like, dude, I'm going into my first NFL game playing against Tom Brady, and I expect to win. I expect to play winning football. He's got it was a 4-year starter at Iowa State. He has a lot of reps. He's been in big games. Like, to him, it's not house money. So there is probably a lot of pressure on himself that he's putting, but everyone would try to calm him down. Hey, don't worry about it, dude. You got George Kittle right here next to you, man. You got Debo Samuel. You can flick it too. You saw how I don't want to say bailed him out, but he threw some passes, and it was like Debo just, huh. And I'm like, damn, okay, right? You got Christian McCaffrey, man. If you don't, you know what I'm saying? So they'll try to take the pressure off him, but the pressure that he's going to put on himself, immense. Now, there is a lot of pressure on Kyle Shanahan to put his young rookie quarterback in winnable situations. There's a lot of pressure, not just on Shanahan, but on the defense to make sure that the defense does their part as well. One thing that got overlooked a little bit because, it is Purdy mania right now, and he did an amazing job against the Dolphins, but 49ers defense forced 5 turnovers, right? Am I tripping? Wasn't it like five turnovers? Yeah, 2 picks, forced fumble to the crib. What else am I missing? Is there only 3? Is there only 3? Why did I get 5? Maybe a 4th down stop or something. A 4th down stop. Yep, there was a 4th down stop. 3rd and 1. Nick Bosa sack, force a field goal, right? So, okay, 3. There we go. But the defense is under pressure to make sure that they keep that, which, I mean, if Tampa has shown us any indication of anything, their offense sucks. Tampa Bay's offense sucks. Their offense is not good. Their offense has been terrible all year long. Terrible. I mean, they might average, I'm going to say off the top of my head, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 26th in scoring. All right, so let's see. 26th in scoring. 26th. All right. NFL team stats. See where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are. Offense. Here we go. No, where's team? Oh, yeah, it's team. This ain't what I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking for. All right, here we go. So let's see where they are. Offense team. I said 26. So you got 32, 31, 30, 29, 28, 27. Ooh, I was close. I said 26th. They're 27th. They are 27th in scoring offense. They're bad. They are bad offensively. So, gotta defense, go out there and make them look as bad as they've looked all year. But still a lot of pressure to make sure that you put your young rookie quarterback in the best position possible. You don't want it to start feeling like, oh man, we got to get into a shootout, Tom Brady with Brock Purdy. Like that's not ideal. Maybe Brock is ready for that, but that's not ideal. You want to keep him as comfortable and as confident as possible. And if you could play with a lead, well, that builds more confidence because then you're not as tense, right? So play with the lead. Think about Trey Lance against the Houston Texans. Early on, maybe a little tight, right? 49ers start getting that lead. Trey Lance start loosening up, letting it rip, right? So same thing with the youngster, where, you start playing with a lead, you start letting it rip a little bit more and playing with confidence. I think we saw that with Brock last game too. Start playing with a lead, a lot of confidence with just the throws and what he's seeing and whatnot. You're just not as tense. So get that lead, get that 10-point lead if you can. And that's asking a lot, but if you could do that, you got it. All right, y'all, man. I appreciate everybody that tuned in to the show. We'll see if we come back here tomorrow. I'm supposed to be going out of state. I'll be in California. My little brother, man, he's graduating from nursing school Saturday. So I'll be in California to watch my guy graduate from nursing school. Shout out to him. Shout out to everybody that tuned in today. Shout out to everybody that tuned in last night. I thought it was a really good show. So if you haven't, try to go back and listen to the show with myself, Greg Pinelli. We have Will on. Our Will is Brock Purdy's. He prepped him for the draft process, the entire draft process. So shout out to Will coming on, man. Y'all were in there. Y'all were lit. Y'all were active. Y'all were engaged. It was awesome. We did film study. Well, hold on. We did film study, but did not do film study, right? I mean, there were like a few plays, and there were a lot of people that were pissed, upset. We'll try to make it up some type of way. We'll have a way more extensive one against Tampa, but it's tough, y'all, because look, here's how the day goes. For me, once this little window right here passes, so I'm free for the next 2 hours, and then boom, it gets crazy for me. It gets crazy, right? And I literally don't have a moment into myself until I was done last night. Greg, whatever he's doing with his kids and stuff like that, he's doing these different things. He trains quarterbacks, etc. So I don't think he had enough time to really dive into the film the way he wanted to. And you realize, like, there were only a few plays and they were kind of bunched up. I don't think he really got to it like that. So we'll try to get to it. I know there were a lot of people really upset about that. There wasn't any, politics or anything like that from Greg. Greg just loves quarterback stuff. So, Greg, he just loves quarterback play. So anytime he gets a chance to watch it, he will. I don't think he had enough time. So we'll get back to that. We'll get back to that because that wasn't our typical film study there. It wasn't. I do, man. Like, look, dude, like, I do these long-ass shows, an hour long, and you see I never cut anything up. There's no clips. Like, there should be at least 3 or 4 different posts from this. I don't have the time. I just don't have the time. I just don't. I wish I did. But again, my most important thing is just coming on here and having a conversation with y'all. So it probably would be beneficial to have different cuts, especially like financially, to get more views on certain things and titled a certain way and have the thumbnails and all that. I don't got none of that shit, man. But I come on here and rap with y'all, and to me that's most important. So I have a good time with that. For sure. But that's going to do it for this episode, man. Appreciate y'all. Y'all know, man, y'all can hit me at Eric_Crocker on Twitter, at CrocTime_U. Ho, Croc Time. So you already know Croc Time is a play off of Prime Time. Shout out to Deion Sanders. Look, I'm a Buff fan now. Colorado Buffaloes, like, where's my Colorado Buffalo hoodie? Where's my Colorado Buffalo hat? It's coming. All right. Go Buffs. All that. Look. Anytime somebody pushes back on, you got people pushing back on Prime? What? Oh. Now, y'all, go Buffalo. Now, it's still fight on. But go Buffalo, man. Go Buffalo. Let's go. All right, y'all. At Eric_Crocker on Twitter. At CrocTime_U on Instagram. Shoot me a follow. DM me. All that stuff. Converse with me. It's all good. It's all love. Appreciate all y'all. Love all y'all. Thanks, Miss Dezi, for coming on. And I'll see y'all maybe tomorrow, but for sure Monday. Till then, I'm out. Peace.
Intercepted. It is picked off by Aaron Rodgers over midfield. He'll run it all the way into the end zone. Touchdown.
Croc Talk TV podcast. Peace.